Okay, Dimitra, I think we can start.
Yes,
We
okay.
50 participants in, so people will be joining, I guess.
Yeah.
So we can.
Okay, Dragan. So just a few words from me. Welcome, everyone. Please make sure to keep your microphones muted during our session so that there will be no background noise. Kindly note that we are recording the session, so it will be available afterwards on our YouTube channel. So if you wish, just keep your cameras off. There is no problem about that. And the floor is for you, Dragan.
Okay, thank you, Dimitra. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this is our third day of visioning the future of agri-food robotics and digital event organized by agROBOfood. Welcome to the session related to funding opportunities. I'm really happy that we have a nice group of people here. Many of you have already been in some way connected to agROBOfood. Some of you have applied for some of our open calls. And here we wanted to have an opportunity to share some interesting material, share some interesting presentations related to funding, because we wanted to bring some more value to the SMEs in Europe working in agri-food robotics, to also show some gratitude for all the effort that our applicants have invested in applying to our open calls. We had 3 open calls so far. Our last one recently ended, and since we can only select around 20 experiments to fund, and we had more than 200 who applied, we really wanted to show some gratitude and, of course, to present some new funding opportunities to you all. So our today's session will cover a couple of topics. We will have, of course, first an introduction related to funding opportunities and the Horizon Europe as the new program that I'm sure all of you are very interested in, since it presents a lot of opportunities for funding for SMEs. This introduction will be given to us by Tanja Knežević, my colleague from Biosense Institute in Serbia. Then we will be having an honor to hear from Adelina and Marco from the European Innovation Council, who will share the opportunities for funding for SMEs coming from this very important instrument. Then we will try to spice things up a bit by sharing 3 stories, 3 journeys to funding from the SMEs who are part of our innovation experiments in industrial challenges, who have been quite successful in fundraising in the previous years. And then you will have some time, an opportunity to hear about some tips and tricks for successful fundraising for SMEs. So without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague Tanja Knežević to start with her first presentation on the introduction to funding opportunities and Horizon Europe. So Tanja, you can share your screen, put your camera on, and we can begin.
Thank you, Dragana. Okay, now let me share my screen. Just a second. Okay. Okay, I hope you can see the screen now.
Yes, we can.
Put this over this, okay. Hello everyone. As Dragana said, my name is Tatjana Knežević, and I will start today's session by giving you a brief introduction to funding opportunities that are available for European SMEs. First, let's start by saying a couple of words of an importance of SMEs. SMEs are the backbone of the European economy. They represent more than 90% of all businesses in EU and employ around 100 million people, account for more than half of Europe's GDP, and play a key role in adding value in every sector of the economy. So SMEs bring innovative solutions to challenges like climate change, resource efficiency, and social cohesion, and help spread this innovation throughout Europe's sections. One of the most important factors for companies is access to finance, which allows them to expand their operations, modernize equipment, and move into new undertakings. And this way, companies can increase their competitiveness and grow, use the opportunity to grow. So funding is the fuel that powers the business, but ease to access to finance is typically correlated with firm's size, meaning that at all stages of development, small businesses struggle more than large enterprises to get finance. And this can be for many reasons. For example, there are higher rates of informality among smaller companies, and also they have fewer collateral options and lower accounting and financing management capacity. Now, considering that there are a lot of funding opportunities available to SMEs, we will discuss different types among them by using the following criteria. So financing stages of company's development and the source of funding. Here on this slide, you can see 8 types of funding opportunities that companies can use according to their current growth stage. So first, there is a bootstrapping as a financing model in which the business funders can finance their business by using their own savings, investments, and earnings. It's a self-starting process that is supposed to proceed without external help, and it has some advantages that less money has to be borrowed and interest costs are reduced. And it also allows funders to keep the ownership of their company and to control expenditures and spendings. Another great funding options at the beginning of your business journey is to get help from your close friends and family. But then as your business is becoming more mature, you can consider application to public support programs, grants. As you know, grant is a sum of money awarded to your business from the government that you don't have to pay back. And business owners use that money for the development of their companies, often for a specific purpose. So even though every grant has different requirements, when applying for a grant, you always need to have a business plan and a very well explained idea of how the money will be spent. Then we have seed accelerators, also known as startup accelerators, that include mentorship and educational components and culminate in a public pitch event or demo day. So you can think of accelerator as the second level of your startup funding training. And accelerators will only show interest in your startup when you have gained traction. So keep in mind that accelerators usually require minimum viable product that has to be already in the market. As an alternative to accelerator programs, there are business angels. These are private investors who invest during the seed funding stage, usually in exchange for convertible debt or ownership equity. When your company reaches a growth phase, you may consider venture capital funding opportunity. And the venture capital companies are limited partnerships or limited liability company that invest in startup businesses with potential for higher return on investment for their pool of investors. So it is recommended to consider in the growth stage, when your company reaches the growth stage, to consider venture capital or to consider bank loans. And we can see on the statistics later on that European SMEs are really open to obtaining bank loans as a financing option. Also, another interesting financing model is a crowdfunding, which use small amounts of capital from a large number of individuals to finance a new business venture. And it is a safe way to get funding because a startup doesn't have to give the money back to anyone. So single investors are just interested in company's project or service, and that's the reason why they are investing. So here you can see the relevant induced financing for SMEs in the last period. This statistic is from the November of last year. And here you can see that the most important sources of finance are bank-based. Equity present only 10%. This means that majority of financing comes from banking sector and the minority comes from the capital market sector. So Europe is still a bank-centric economy. Now let's move on with the Horizon Europe. So as I said, we have different sources of finance. Today we will focus on the public financing, and the Horizon Europe is the European's flagship program for research and innovation, running from 7 years, from this year to 2027, intending to deliver scientific, technological, economic, and societal impacts to threaten scientific and technological basis and to foster competitiveness. It has a budget of almost 100 billion euros across the program, and it tackles climate change, helps to achieve sustainable development goals, and boosts the EU's competitiveness and growth. Here you can see the structure of the program, and you can see the program has been slightly restructured when compared to Horizon 2020. One of the key changes to note is the official inclusion of the European Innovation Council, which was in pilot mode in Horizon 2020. And in Horizon Europe, it is officially introduced in the context of Pillar 3, Innovative Europe, which is a new pillar in the framework. It includes some areas previously funded under Horizon 2020's first and second pillars, such as future and emerging technologies, Open Grant, now called EIC Pathfinder, and the SMEs instrument grant, now called EIC Accelerator. Also, in addition to this, Horizon 2020's second and third pillars have been reshuffled to a single pillar, which addresses both industrial and societal challenges together. Now, on the outside, this may seem like a significant challenge in the new program, but practically speaking, this change will mainly impact the way the offices are structured and managed on the European Commission side. For the applicants, there are just two most important things to remember. So first, it is important for you to have a clear understanding of the new structure, because it will ensure you to know where to look for funding opportunities. And the second thing is, of course, as in previous framework, for the success in Horizon Europe, you need to match your project to the specific grant application and to the corresponding expected impact. Now, we will go briefly through each of these pillars. The first pillar includes European Research Council, which supports frontier research project design and driven by researchers. This includes the prestigious ERC grants that support excellent investigators in pursuing groundbreaking and high-gain research. Then Marie Curie Action grants provide fellowships and mobility grants for research in all career stages. And there is also an investment in world-class research infrastructures. For the second pillar, this pillar includes calls for collaborative projects in societal, technological, and industrial challenges, and these calls will be published under clusters in various domains, and it will also include a joint research center. Okay. And it will also include a joint research center that supports EU and national policymakers with independent scientific and evidence and technical support. When it comes to the third pillar, which is Innovative Europe, it aims to make a Europe frontrunner in market-creating innovation, and EIC will focus on market-creating innovation and SMEs growth. It will include EIC Pathfinder and EIC Accelerator, but more of this will be explained to you later on. Only for the European innovation ecosystem, it's important to say that they aim at connecting with regional and national innovation actors and to support the innovation of joint cross-border innovation programs. And European Institute of Innovation and Technology will foster the integration of business research, higher education, and entrepreneurship. The fourth component is horizontal and will support the entire Horizon Europe program. It will support the participation of EU member states, especially low R&I performing states in the entire Horizon Europe program. Another novelty in Horizon Europe are the missions. They are placed under Pilot 2, Global Challenges and Industrial Competitiveness. It aims at responding to great contemporary challenges that directly concern European citizens with a novel approach. You can see here on the slide 5 mission areas. And what should be mentioned is that missions will be in charge of defining a portfolio of projects and calls for proposals to tackle the related challenge in a cross-cutting and strategic way. So they have a very important role. How the Horizon Europe program will work. So it will be implemented through work programs. The first work program has been already published. You can find more information on the link below. And it will include, among other things, a number of destinations outlining the topic in question and outputs expected. So please, when you write a proposal under each call, pay attention to the destination under which this call is published, because it needs to match the call and to answer to the call requirements, also to do destinations requirements. Now, Horizon Europe Info Days are in progress. These Info Days are organized by European Commission. So our suggestion for you is to follow these Info Days. It will address 9 themes dedicated to different clusters or parts of Horizon Europe program, and this event will last until July 9th. Now I will briefly go to the financial instruments available for SMEs in the previous period from 2014 to 2020. You can see here that we have various programs that are addressing different needs. For instance, you can see in the second row here that COSME, which provides both debt and equity financing instruments, and COSME work together with Innofin, and both of these programs work together to provide different instruments for companies. The deadline of 2020 is only the deadline for agreements with the financial institutions. It's important to say that here, because then financial institutions which already signed the agreements with companies before the deadline, before the end of the last year, can continue to deploy financing to SMEs. So even now we are in 2021. There are still plenty of financial institutions which are deploying financing to companies and will deploy in the next years. Now, financial for the COSME, so as I said, it provides financing options through the loan guarantee facilities, which provides guarantees and counter guarantees, and through equity facility for growth, which provides risk capital to equity funds investing in SMEs, mainly in the expansion and growth stage phases. For the Innofin, we have Innofin Equity, and here on the link you can find out who the supported funds are. And you also have here the Innofin SME Guarantee, which is the largest pan-European guarantee scheme supporting innovation in the EU and beyond. And you can see who the supported intermediaries are. So how these EU financial instruments work in practice? So they work through financial institutions. So companies don't need to go to European Commission directly to get money, but the Commission is basically relying on entrusting entities, for instance, European Investment Bank Group, and European Investment Fund is a part of this group. So on this slide, you can see how the system works. The European Investment Bank Group contract selects via open calls the financial intermediaries, which are, for instance, banks at local level, which serve the needs of the local beneficiaries. So SMEs can find a local institution to which they can submit their business plan, their application, and to get financing, which is backed by European Commission. So on this website, accesstofinance.eu, you can find companies can get information about what are the intermediaries available. So first you should click on the country, choose your country, and you will get a list of all financial intermediaries and the contact details, so you can contact these intermediaries and submit your loan application. All these financial instruments that I mentioned will be condensed into one single program, which is InvestEU. InvestEU have 4 windows, so sustainable infrastructure, research, innovation, and digitalization, small and medium-sized companies, and social investment and skills. SME window will be a natural successor of COSME, and you can see that next to InvestEU Fund, we also have the InvestEU Advisory Board and InvestEU Portal. So the advisory board will provide the technical support and assistance to help companies with the preparation, the deployment, structuring, and implementation of investment projects. And on the portal, you will see the database of investment opportunities available within EU. That's all from my side. So just to mention another thing, so the specific objectives of the SMEs window are that they will increase access to finance for European SMEs, especially startups, younger and smaller companies, SMEs that are lacking sufficient collateral, and they're promoting the implementation of specific unions policy priorities in the areas of, for example, innovation, digitization, and cultural and creative industries. If you have any questions, I don't know, Dragana, if you will continue now or to leave it for the later on.
Yes, Tanya, thank you very much for this lovely presentation and the overview. If you have any questions, you can, of course, put them into the chat box. You can also, if you have some ideas or you want to express some interest for collaboration, you can also put it in the chat. We will provide the presentation and the recording of this meeting next week as well, so that you can also click on the links and have some more information. The Horizon Europe is quite a big program, and it takes some time and effort to find the right funding opportunities. So we have tried to give an overview. I believe we succeeded in giving this overview. And I would now like to invite our guests from the European Innovation Council and give the floor to Adelina Nicolae, who is the project officer in Pathfinder, and Marco Pantaleo, who is the program manager in Pathfinder, to share with us information about the opportunities on European Innovation Council.
Good morning, Adelina. You want to start and introduce something, yes. And then let me present before Adelina and myself. Adelina is a project officer at the European Innovation Council, working in mostly in a Pathfinder project, which are the project at low TRL that we have in EIC, and I'm program manager for energy and green technologies. Since last October, in charge of the proactive management of our projects in order to catalyze innovation in our beneficiaries and let breakthrough and non-incremental research to be transformed into innovation and business opportunities. This is one of the main challenges of EIC. I leave the floor to Adelina, and then I will add something about our specific activities in agro-food and agro-robotics, other than adding something on the new role of EIC within Horizon Europe. Please, Adelina.
Yes, thank you to everyone, and good morning, and thank you, Marco. I'm not sure, first of all, if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Marco already explained. We are both sitting in a rebranded agency, the former small enterprise executive agency of the European Commission, which now integrated the European Innovation Council, which was nicely introduced by the first presentation here. Now I will show you what are in fact the instruments inside the European Innovation Council work program for 2021. Just a second. So we are going to talk a bit about the European Innovation Council, about the funding opportunities in 2021, as I said. And we also came prepared with a few bunch of projects which are in agro-robotics or connected to that. Just to show what we have funded during the pilot phase of the European Innovation Council in the former Future and Emerging Technology and also by the accelerator in the pilot phase. So about the European Innovation Council, this is a 10 billion program to identify, develop and scale up breakthrough technologies and disruptive innovations in Europe. Actually, it is a very unique construction which put together the emerging technologies with the accelerator for startups, SMEs and scale-ups. It also comprises the EIC fund, which is a largest venture capital deep tech investor in Europe, which comprise more than 3 billion euro. It is the European Innovation Council. It is an innovator-centric, steered by board of leading innovators. It has a proactive approach. We will discuss a little bit later about this, ensuring a flexible funding and ensuring that resources are well managed and coherent with the goal of the program. And also, last but not least, it enhances the European innovation ecosystem. There are three main instruments within the European Innovation Council Work Program in 2021. The Pathfinder, where I belong, is an instrument funding early stage research on breakthrough technologies. It is then a transition instrument, which is more looking into maturation of the technology and also on business and market readiness of the projects. And finally, most interesting probably for you is Accelerator, which is an instrument contributing to development and scale up of deep tech disruptive innovations by startups, SME and SMEs. It also offers blended finance and is a successor of the small enterprise instrument. So a part of these three main instruments, there are some horizontal activities there which make the entire construction more coherent and also consolidates the institution with steering by Innovation Council board with leading innovators. Then offering business acceleration services to all beneficiaries of these three main instruments by ensuring a proactive management and also with follow-up funding for results from all the instruments, the projects funded in the instruments that I mentioned, but beyond that, by ERC and by EIT. About the business acceleration services, they are tailor-made to all beneficiaries of our projects. And they ensure access to advice by coaching, mentoring, expertise and training, access to business partners, corporates, investors, procurers, and also access to innovation ecosystem and peers, like from collaboration with EIT, EAN, the incubators, accelerators, agencies, and the IPR help desk. There is an approach of proactive management. I would allow Marco to discuss more about this, because he's a program manager, and everything takes place around the program manager activity.
Thanks, Adelina. Yes, this role as program manager is one of the key novelties of the IC, together with a transition program, which is dedicated to beneficiaries of Pathfinder programs that want to transform a proof of concept already funded by the Pathfinder program or another funding mechanism into a potential startup and suitable then for ESE accelerator. But the key novelty, together with this transition program and the blended finance of the ESE accelerator, is exactly this role of the program manager. And I'm one of the 4 program managers that are recruited by EIC in health, medtech, energy and green technologies, including also agriculture and innovation in agricultural engineering and sustainable food production. We have the key role to catalyze innovation in the project that we are managing, grouping and clustering projects in thematic portfolios, where the ambition is to achieve more ambitious targets from grouping the project into this portfolio and let them to catalyze innovation, develop serendipity and share approaches, methodologies, stakeholders, and in innovation ecosystem in order to produce more ambitious results and try to facilitate the innovation journey. As Adelina well explained before, the ambition of the IC is to follow up the project from very low TRL with the Pathfinder to high TRL of startups with EIC accelerator. This means that we have the ambition to be a one-stop shop for innovation, where we provide smart money to our beneficiaries. So not only funding opportunities, we are not only a grant agency, but an agency that wants to have an hand-on approach. Means that we as program managers interact with the projects, specific projects in the portfolio that we build on the basis of our expertise, scientific and technical expertise, on the basis of a vision that we want to develop of a specific technological innovation and for the innovation, or propose, explore new methodologies for to develop the innovation, to nurture innovation, and finding niche markets where to apply specific technologies and putting the project in the condition to best deliver their innovation. This is an action that we carry out both at low TRL level in basic research, non-incremental breakthrough research in Pathfinder, but also in the accelerator in the startups that we fund with the blended finance. and we try to build portfolio project where we have, and we will give you some flavors of this in a few slides now. We thematic portfolio where we have both basic research and Pathfinder project and accelerator projects that can theoretically use and put to the market some nice and disruptive research that we are funding. So we want to make this bridge between basic research and innovation, which is two-way around, in the sense that both basic research can inspire innovators to develop new idea, and also the needs, the market needs, the commercial needs, and the legislative regulatory aspects that are well addressed by startups when proposing their products into the market, could also help the fundamental research to define key challenges and key directions. So we want to reinforce this link, and with the proactive role, which is typical and characteristic of the program manager, we want to catalyze innovation in our beneficiaries. This is one of the three key roles that we have as program manager. The other one is to define and write new challenges for year by year for the top-down calls, because Adelina presented the broader framework of EAC, which includes both open and challenge calls. The open calls are bottom-up, where everybody could apply with a fantastic idea, not focused on anything in particular, while the top-down calls are driven by program managers with their vision to push towards a specific direction, the research and the innovation. For these years, we propose for the Pathfinder the green hydrogen generation process, and for the acceleration, the topics related to the Green Deal, including energy efficiency in buildings, energy storage, low carbon economies, and high energy intensive industries, how to decarbonize high energy intensive industries. For next year, we are considering topics such as plant functionalization, which is specifically focused on agriculture and plant science, but also carbon and nitrogen management and valorization. And another key topic that is under our radar is the energy, agriculture, food nexus. So trying to produce at the same time both energy and food. Agrivoltaics is one option for this, or trying to increase the sustainability of the whole food supply chain, from the production of the agricultural products to the food processing and final use, including both fundamental research and innovation in the whole supply chain. These portfolio activities are supported by focused workshop and events that we organize around specific topics, and sometimes linked to specific activities, specific communities, innovation communities, and to some events when we organize workshop to discuss about breakthrough research in a specific field. As could be the case for agricultural intelligence, environmental intelligence. Adelina, you want to go on?
Yes, thank you very much, Marco, for the presentation. I would complement this, that around this valuable work that Marco presented of the program managers. The work program is also putting in place some support instruments to pave this way from a very low TRL to the market. And these are ad hoc grants, for instance, of 50K that are practically accessible by all the beneficiaries of EIC instruments. And they fund activities for assessment of innovation potential and for the portfolio activities themselves. And it's to be emphasized here that the SMEs can be beneficiaries of these, as the SMEs, of course, can be part of the consortia also for the Pathfinder. Also, another instrument is the Fast Track to Accelerator, which practically is aimed to substitute the first phase of the accelerator.
Adelina, sorry, maybe we should go a bit quick here because the time is over, and so just
I will shorten this. Yes, and it's important just to know that they exist. I will present the planning for next year, for this year, sorry, and also mentioning that in autumn a new work program will be available. So you can still apply for some calls in September for transition and open challenges, and for accelerator second phase in 6th of October for the full application, both open and challenges, and 27th of October for Pathfinder challenges. I will be very fast on what it is exactly in the hands of the of each instrument that we have presented. So as I said, the EIC Pathfinder is funding research to develop the scientific basis to underpin breakthrough technologies. It is made by an open component, which is bottom-up approach, open to all kinds of technologies and all kinds of applications that the applicant can put forward. And the challenges, which is going around topics for this year, they were 5 topics defined. I will go fast to show you there. So for the Pathfinder challenges, there is awareness inside, tools to measure, to stimulate activity in brain tissue, emerging technologies in cell and gene therapy, novel routes to green hydrogen production, and engineer living materials, with the program managers on lead of each of this topic. Most interesting for you. So in particular, transition is applying to beneficiaries of Pathfinder to go beyond the experimental proof of principle, which is funded under Pathfinder, and supports maturation and validation of the novel technology. This you can take information from the work program and learn more about the possibility to apply with. And the accelerator, which contains in principle support to companies, principally startups and SMEs, to scale up high impact innovations with a potential to create new markets or disrupt existing ones. we will not have time to stop more. Marco already explained how these instruments are working in an integrated way. I will go ahead and show a little bit about what kind of support you can receive from the accelerator. You may know that the accelerator is providing two types of funding. One is a grant and the other is investment. Can be a grant first if your innovation still requires significant work to validate and demonstrate in relevant environments to assess its commercial potential. Can be grant only. If you can prove that you have sufficient financial means for deployment and scale up, and can be investment only if you are looking to fill the funding gap for a rapid scale up of your high risk innovation, and you don't need a grant. If you, Marco, wish to complement what I said about the accelerator, otherwise we can go ahead to present few projects that are
yeah. I think that, yes, regarding the accelerator, we encourage all the innovative startups to apply for the next deadline, which is in October. The process is in 2 steps. The first step is preparing a pitch of 5 minutes and some slides reporting the concepts, describing the concept of the idea. If the project is accepted for the second step, then a full proposal of 30 pages required, and an interview with the evaluators is foreseen. The success rate is quite low. It's about, for the last year was around 5%, but we can say that very often very good startups and innovators are successful, not at the first attempt to apply, but the second, third one. So we encourage you to persist and to reinforce your proposal, and then there will be there have been specific info days to present this instrument, and please don't hesitate to get in contact with us to know more about the accelerator opportunities and all the services that are provided. If you pass from the first to the second step, we also offer an advisory with a technical consultant, scientific consultant that help you to prepare the full proposal for the second step. So we're going to show some flavors of our activities and funded projects in accelerator in green tech, and in particular robotics for agriculture. I have to say that I've been reviewing and grouping about 3,500 projects in accelerator related to energy and green technologies, and there are some nice projects specifically focused on robotics. This one, Alev, is got funding in a couple of years ago, coordinated by agROBOfood in Netherlands, and focused on autonomous lightweight agricultural vehicles, which at the same time can preserve the quality of the soil and eliminating the further degradation of the soil. So it's a typical agricultural mechanization system with light weight to preserve the soil. And another project in in the next slides is Asterix that aims to reduce drastically herbicide consumption. It's well matched also with other projects at Pathfinder level that we have, such as No Pest is another one that is focused on advanced solution but very low TRL and disruptive research to completely avoid the use of herbicide and polluting products in agriculture. This project also started a couple of years ago, coordinated by Adigo in Norway, and the key novelty is in the ultra high precision nozzle system to spray the herbicide in the right direction, and so with precision farming techniques. Next one is focused Adelina on precision farming as well, robo-harvest, to select in the harvesting process. This probably was applied to fruits and proposed by Robotics Ltd in Israel, based on pattern recognition, image recognition, computer aided to select the ripe level of the fruits and automatically harvesting them. There are a number of projects funded in this area, and this novel jack is focused on fully automatic hydraulic drop leg for agricultural machines, and this could be a very promising solution for agricultural mechanization for tractors of all typologies, offering cheaper solutions that could be could have enhanced functionalities and reducing and increasing also safety, because the jack-related accident could be minimized. Simol from Italy is the beneficiary. There are some video, but we probably don't have time. This is another project, a farm wind related to indoor farming and pulsating lighting, light emitting diodes to lighten indoor greenhouses closed. So the key aspect here is that the beneficiary aims to enlighten the crops with intermittent lighting, which is synchronized with the photosynthesis, so promising very relevant energy efficiency, so dramatic reduction of electric consumption for lighting, which is one of the main issues of the indoor farming with artificial lighting, that on the other side offer very interesting possibilities to increase the quality of the food and minimize, drastically reduce of 95% the water consumption. That means that this solution is yes, already patented and proposed by an Estonian company, Lava Tech. We have another project focused on bees and how to match artificial intelligence and bee brewing. We can go on probably with some Pathfinder project. Oh, there is also this one, bio-weed control, Tando. They are related to soils and weed control in the soil. This one, the Tando, the second one is focused on drones for indoor applications, equipped with advanced sensors. And in this case, we have related to advanced sensor for agriculture and environment, some very nice and promising projects at Pathfinder level, so at very low TRL level. We can see in the next slides, probably in this one, I see it, for instance, that is proposing bio-inspired sensors that can mimic the plants, collecting data about the pollutant levels into the soil, growing as roots into the soil, and being biodegradable, a sort of biodegradable, soft miniaturized robots. This is a very pioneering research that matches plant science, biorobotics, environmental intelligence, trying to put together a lot of different technologies with the ambition to monitor and produce diagnostics of soil, but potentially also water and air quality. So being completely in the range of environmental intelligence, which is some extent well linked to agriculture, of course. From Consiglio Nazionale delle Ricerche in Italy, there is also Wageningen University, and is led by Barbara Mazzolai from Fondazione Istituto Nazionale di Tecnologia, started this year. The next one is at the end is the agROBOfood, also biomimics and inspired robots inspired by plants able to climb and to grow as plants, and this project is a sort of legacy of the DIC1. It's started a couple of years ago and from the same group of researchers. The next one, Adelina, is Robocoin. This is focused on biohybrid entities that put together different living organisms and technological elements to allow advanced energy harvesting with using the phloem and the plant resources to produce energy with micro salinity gradients and sensing and actuation integrated with in the environment in the plants. Next one, probably
Is that
finished? Okay. So
yeah.
this is a broad overview of this project. Is not exhaustive because we have also something more, and we are keen to engage also with key players and other projects such as agROBOfood to provide to our beneficiaries the opportunity to further funding and to agROBOfood and the clusters that are engaging with this digital innovation hub to get in contact and engage with our beneficiaries to establish good collaboration and develop new innovation, new ideas together. So I'm really keen to have your feedback, input. Please let me in contact and let's try to organize focused events on a scientific and technological basis that are very important for our and your beneficiaries. Thanks, Adelina, please.
Thank you, Marco. And I wish to say at the end, because these latest three projects maybe give a flavor about what Pathfinder is also on the well, next year, now this year, Pathfinder Open is closed, is now under evaluation, but next year, if you are interested, you can enter in consortia. There are SMEs, part of this kind of pioneering projects. So we encourage you also to this, apart from participating in Accelerator. So thank you very much. Thank you to Marco, and thank you everyone for listening to our presentation. We can share this presentation if you like, because we did not have time to say everything we were prepared to say here.
Thank you very much, Adelina and Marco. This was great and very inspiring, I have to say. And thank you for adding these interesting projects for everyone to see. So what is interesting and what is in your focus? We had 2 questions also in our chat box, both of which you have addressed in a way in your presentation, but I would also like to ask if you would like to add something. So the first question is, how can the European Innovation Council benefit from the pan-European agROBOfood network in the coming years?
We can benefit thanks to the innovation ecosystem in agro-robotics that the agROBOfood network has developed and is nurturing. So we can engage and organize specific meetings to deepen this and to put our stakeholders, innovators into the cluster that you are already in place. So trying to establish good collaboration with you. So our interest is to offer to our beneficiaries new funding opportunities, attract participate to other projects and implement their ideas in practice. But also your beneficiaries of agROBOfood could enter into our programs, funding mechanism, and we are also keen to attract the best innovation and to finance, to fund the best research and startups. So this is a reciprocal interest, sort of win-win approach.
Okay, thank you very much. We also have a raised hand from Farzam. Farzam, would you like to ask something?
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, Marco, Adelina. Thank you. It was really great. My question was answered by Marco about the top-down thematic calls very nicely. But then it raises another question coming back to the previous discussion of how connections between agROBOfood, for example, and EIC can be made. So we have had open call for innovative projects, and we have distributed funding to these small projects, all dealing with robotics for agROBOfood, in agri-food. So it's really nice to hear that there could be possibilities of organizing events where we can come together and hopefully feed your reflections as you decide on future thematic calls, that this investment that is already bearing some fruits can be at least taken into considerations. Voilà.
Thank you, Farzam.
Yeah, I'm leaving my email for any contacts, and Adelina, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we already shared with the organizers. So
yes, it would be great if you send us also the presentation, so then we
yes,
can.
I will send to Dragana right now.
Okay, great. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, and yeah, it was great to be here with you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and thanks for inviting us. Thank you also, Adelina, for having prepared all the work, and we are keen to get in contact with you. So I left my email, and so we can for sure further this and evaluate other nice opportunities. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
So moving on with our program today, I would like to invite Imtiaz Shams from the company Flux who are one of our...
Dori, zoals een concurrent.
Sorry, someone's not muted. So Imtiaz will be presenting the journey to funding of flocks, who are also funded by agROBOfood as one of our industrial challenges. So Imtiaz, I would like to give the floor to you, and thank you for being here with us today.
Hi guys, can you all hear me? Great. And I'm gonna just share my screen, if that's okay. Here we go. You're gonna see how many tabs I have. There we go.
Zoals een concurrent, verdorie.
Okay, great. So, yeah, we're Flocks. We're the healthy chicken company. We're bringing robotics and artificial intelligence to the poultry industry. We've got funding from various VCs, some in Europe like Speed Invest, and also the USA like AceCap. Our investors are pretty cool. AceCap, for example, is one of the earliest investors into Pinterest and Square, which are all decacorns at the moment. And Speed Invest is a very well-known deep tech investor in Europe. I'll talk a little bit about the team. So myself, I'm from a venture builder called Post Urban. We've built 5 companies in the last 4 years in AI and technology across Europe. We have businesses in Croatia, Spain, Poland, where Flocks is partly based, obviously the UK. And my business partner Nils is a sort of a serial entrepreneur who built a company called Anonymox, a German company. It's running for 11 years now. And we work very closely with Kel Ideas, which is the Lear Rover, or if you remember, Turtlebot. Like I said, we're focused on applying solutions to the 66 billion chickens that live around the world. And what we're doing with this project is that the robot will go around reducing the impact of the litter, the waste of the chicken on their legs, by improving litter management. And by doing this, you make the birds' welfare, their health much better. And the good thing about this industry is if you improve chicken health, everyone makes more money. So it's quite a nice relationship in terms of profitability and sustainability and ethics. In the next 20 years, you will have about 1.8 to 2.3 trillion chickens. So our perspective is that we need to do better. And I think Europe is for sure regulating this area anyways. So there's no choice for a lot of these companies. We have commercial products at the moment and revenues. Some of our customers are the biggest chicken integrators in Europe. But this project with agROBOfood is to take some of what we already have commercially and add robotics into it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about VC funding. I'm not going to take too long with this talk because I'd rather sort of take questions. With my background, I've helped 6 companies raise VC finance from all over the world, US money, European money, etc. So maybe I'll talk a little bit wider about what I've learned. The latest stage company I've taken to VC funding is Series A. Most of the companies I've been involved in is pre-seed, seed, seed plus, etc. But you learn a little bit something with time about how VC works. So one thing that's really important, I'm going to keep it very basic to start with because I don't know how much experience people here have with VC funding. So the first money that people sometimes have is friends, family, and fools, they're called, FFF money. So this is pre-seed. It's sometimes, like my CTO, he put some money in. We have some chicken farmers who invested in the company also who are friends of mine. Also, I have angels who invest in every single one of my companies. And also there are some pre-seed funds, and Europe is actually quite. Oops, I think I think we got to mute. Yeah, there we go. Europe is actually quite good for pre-seed money because there's a lot of pre-seed funds, and pre-seed money is not too hard to get. Usually, you need to have a pitch deck and a team and a vision, and you can get pre-seed money. Although I'll explain later that I think this is changing. Seed money is a little bit harder. It's the valley of death for a lot of startups. And it's very, very challenging to get seed money because you need to have traction, but you need to have traction, but you also will not have the kind of traction you need to convince investors so easily. So it's a really weird space for a lot of people. And then you have Series A, where it's much more based on metrics and sales and things. So it's a little bit easier because you have well-known KPIs. And then everything else is sort of Series B plus. As I mentioned, pre-seed is actually getting slightly more complicated. Before, genuinely, like I raised for a company, one of our companies, it's an AI company. We didn't have a product. We had like a pitch deck, and we had 3 people and an angel investor, and that was enough to get quite a lot of pre-seed money for that business. But that's changing now, particularly for deep tech like AI robotics, where they expect you to be able to provide some kind of traction. For example, some minimal viable prototype, or maybe like a partnership with a customer, or even some kind of validation. And I think the reason for that is many people are doing startups, and so VCs are surrounded by lots of good ideas. And so if you've got 2 good ideas and one of them has a little bit more traction, you might go for that one. I'll give you a couple of tips now about how to kind of do funding well. I'll not go into the second slide yet. I'll talk a little bit about kind of what I think I found that investors want. And there is a slight challenge because European VC is different from American VC. And I'll be very honest here. I'll try to be honest. I'm not saying I'm correct, but this is just a perspective that I've felt, and a lot of people I know who've raised multiple rounds or sold businesses have told me. European VCs are conservative, and they still are conservative. It's much better than it was 10 years ago, but there's still a different view of startups versus America. In America, it is a lot more about kind of, what is the big picture? What is the big vision? Is the team able to get to that big vision? While in Europe, it's a little bit about what are you doing right now and how is that going to turn into the kind of revenues you need to de-risk my investment? I think the other problem is that American VCs are largely run by entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs. In Europe, a lot of our VCs are run by ex-finance people, and that's okay. But when you don't have a good mix of entrepreneurs and finance people, you end up with people not really understanding particularly deep tech businesses. And I know this because I provide due diligence to a lot of VCs. I have friends in different VCs around Europe, and I'm called to help them with due diligence. And sometimes the lack of knowledge is really concerning. People invest in things that they don't fully understand. And this is a little bit of a challenge. In America, it's very, very different. I would say most of the VCs that I've spoken to or work with, they really understand the areas they invest in. So there's a couple of challenges between Europe and the US where we need to catch up, but we are getting a lot better now. Right. I'm doing a seed round right now for Flocks. Things are going okay. And we just closed 2 more seed rounds for 2 of our other companies. So I've gone through the process a little bit recently. So I'll give you a little bit of a kind of how it works. So with a seed round, the assumption is that you've done a small round before and you've now shown product market fit or some level of product market fit, and you have some traction, maybe some revenues or maybe a product that people are using. They generally accept that. There's a lot of flexibility in what I just said, but that's generally kind of what people expect. In terms of documentation, there's 3 things really. There's the pitch deck, which is really important to get right. It's extremely important. There's the VDR, which is your virtual data room. That doesn't have to be done initially, but it's very useful to start that early because it means when the investors ask you for this, you can move quickly. And there's legals and the term sheets and things like that. You don't have to think too much about that right now because your lawyers will be involved in that. One big thing about VC anywhere in the world is that it's very FOMO driven. It's this fear of missing out. And I'll give you a story about this. One of our companies did an investment round, and it was the most difficult round I've ever done. It's a very good company, but it's a difficult area of business. And they were having a lot of rejections, even though it was a good company and had some VC term sheets. And they then closed a round with one of the biggest, they closed their investment round with one of the biggest investors in the USA for their area. And then they did a bit of PR, a piece of PR with their investors about the fact that they closed the investment round. As soon as they did the PR, they had, I think, something like 17 different VCs contact them, of which 5 of them were VCs that had rejected them, of which 2, I think, said, hey, we think we made do you have space in your round anymore? So these VCs has rejected this company, and then because of the fear of missing out, that a big VC thinks that they're good, they were like, no, can we come back into the round? It was crazy, and I've seen this happen a bit more often than you'd want, and it scares me because it means that VCs are driven by more than just kind of the basic financials of the business and the basic visions of the business. So you have to create that FOMO, and the way to do that is you need a process. You need to drive this process. You are a salesperson if you're a CEO doing a fundraising round, right? So don't let them take control of the process, because the VCs, they actually get value from delaying, because they're taking more data about what you're doing and they're squeezing you out a bit more. While if you're not driving the process, you're burning your cash flow and getting closer and closer to desperation. The second thing that you have to remember is that you have a data advantage, though, because you know which VCs you're speaking to and who's talking to, like who's giving you term sheets, who's giving you good signals. The VCs don't know that usually. They talk to each other a little bit, but not too much. So use that to your advantage. For example, I'm currently waiting for some terms. I was speaking to some US investors, so I told my VC that was sending me terms, hey, look, like this is happening in the US. How long do you think you're going to take? And then they said, oh, okay, we'll get you something really, really quickly, because they're scared also that, they've put all this effort into you. They're signing some term sheets and you go with another VC because they're too slow. A very big advantage is to use your VC network to get introductions to other VCs. I have so many VCs that say, when they say no to Flocks, I say to them, okay, no problem. Can you explain why? And then they explain it. And sometimes they're very, very good reasons. And then I use that and I improve my data room and my deck with feedback if it's useful. And then I say, who do you think I can talk to? And then they always, VCs are really nice about kind of giving you some introductions to other VCs if they like you. Yeah. The second thing is, people often think you need to have warm introductions from VCs to VCs. That's not true. I have contacted many, many VCs just through my LinkedIn, but you need to build that LinkedIn muscle. What that means is you need to network with VCs. You need to have them as connections in your LinkedIn. And so for me, because I have so many VC connections from my other businesses, if I add a VC on LinkedIn, 9 times out of 10, they add me back and I can have a quick chat. And then I say, hey, we're doing this investment round. Would love to chat if it's interesting to you. And they say, sorry, it's now not our thesis. But we will connect you to someone else or whatever it is. But VCs are people, right? So okay, that's like VC fundraising. If there's no questions on that, I'm just going to move to grants really quickly. So like I said, we're a UK and Polish company. We have companies in both areas with Flocks. We have received grant funding from Innovate UK, which is the UK grant funding authority, and also from Cascade grants in Europe. I have never won a big Horizon grant. I've applied so many times from all my companies. I'm really bad at it, but I win a lot of Cascade grants like agROBOfood. I'll talk a little bit about kind of the type of grants that we've seen. So, and what are the themes? So one thing about grants is that they're usually equity free, or if there is equity attached to it, it's a good deal versus, VC funding. So for example, the EIC, which the speakers earlier were talking about, it's patient capital. They're happy for you to take your time to build a business out. And this is very, very important. So grants are very good for that. It's also competition based, which means that because of it's almost a competitive tender, so people have to fight for the same pot of money. Often some grants are thematic, so agriculture or whatever, like agROBOfood, and some are open, which are a lot higher, but you can often just resubmit to open calls. And there's different sizes of grant money. One thing I've discovered with previous businesses is small grants are not always easier. Sometimes small grants are, I've done a grant for $500,000 and a grant for $50,000, and the $50,000 grant was a lot harder to manage. I'll talk a little bit about kind of what I love about grants and what I don't like about grants, or sorry, not what's hard and what's good. So grants are great because they can keep you going without equity financing. So equity is challenging. Equity is not always rational. Like I said, particularly I find really, particularly in Europe, we have sometimes some irrational perspectives around what is fundable. And this is because these VCs are run by human beings, and human beings are complicated and not always rational. So it's a really nice way of keeping yourself going, or taking investor money and multiplying that, so focusing your equity from your investors on growth of the business, sales, things like that, and focusing grants on the R&D. This is something very, very useful because it allows you to kind of extend the R&D work, which is what the EU wants. I find grants are also really nice to bring in partners. So I always use a grant to bring more partners. And I'll give you an example. There's one grant for agROBOfood, actually. We were able to bring in a very, very good robotics partner. So I didn't really know them very well. I wanted to find a good robotics partner. We knew them from some other people, and I contacted them saying, hey, do you want to be on this grant with us? So we met with their founder because, as soon as you talk about money, people are interested. We met with the founder, we had a very good connection, and we put the grant in with them, and obviously we won agROBOfood. They are now our partner. So it's a really nice way of kind of building relationships where there's no commercial element to start with, but you want that commercial element. I also use it many, many times to get customers. So I get customers in the grant, and then that de-risks their involvement with your high, low TRL tech. And this is a very good way. One problem with grants is that they are very hyper competitive. They're very, very difficult, and they're only getting more difficult, I would say. I'll give you an example from the UK. Innovate UK grants, you used to need about 78, 79% to win 2 years ago. Just last quarter, you now need 86.4%. So it's a 7% increase over 1.5 years. And actually it's a 5% increase just in 6 months. So things are getting harder, and I think COVID is having a big impact. Another problem with grants, and I really dislike this, is insider knowledge of grant matters. What I mean by that is people know that people who are constantly applying for grants have more experience than new people. And grant writers are used all the time, but that means that only some companies in certain countries can get subsidies for grant writers, while other countries can't. I think this is quite unfair. Also, grant questions are written sometimes very strangely, where they ask one thing, but you have to be a grant writer or experienced to know what they really want in the marking thresholds, right? The other thing is a lot of grant writers will use templates. This is that they use the same thing for each grant. If you're a new business writing a grant, you do not have these templates. So you're doing things from scratch and you don't even know what's correct. So it's a very, very disadvantageous thing for new applicants. The other thing is also I'm an assessor for some EU grants as well myself, and it is very tough. They give you, 20 to 40 different assessments to do. It's really, really difficult, and to do. The good thing is that EU is very good at finding good assessors. Every time I've been on an assessment board, the people are very impressive, but it's really tough. So giving companies the time that they need is really, really difficult. And so companies sometimes miss out with very small percentage. It's very frustrating because you spent 3 months writing something, 2 months writing something, and then it fails because of 4% or 1% or something. I won't talk too much about the areas of grants, but there's obviously Brexit has really complicated the UK. It's horrible, but we have Innovate UK, which is actually quite a good grant funding body. Very important for EU companies. If you have a British business, you are allowed to apply for them. Just bear that in mind, okay? So you can actually apply for UK money if you have a company in the UK. The EU obviously has lots of grants. I really like cascade grants, which are sort of where the EU gives a big pot of money to a big consortia and they give small, like agROBOfood, I think is a cascade call. And the reason I like that is that they're often thematic, they're focused, they're often managed by experts, universities, industrial bodies, etc. And you have a much closer relationship, I find, with the people who are the program managers who are running it. On the other side, you have big infrastructure or regional grants. Like in Portugal, I was involved in IAPME, which is like the big Portuguese regional grant. You need a company in that country and you need to spend the money there, but it can be a lot of money and it can be very good if you have a geographical advantage of being there. I think that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Imtiaz. This was great. This was very engaging. I was listening and okay, I want to know more. So it was really good. Thank you so much. So we have a couple of questions in the chat box for you. One is coming from Marcel Kovac. So it says the European VCs, a lot of them are investing public funds from EU with strict limitations on geography, sector, size, and exit terms. What is your view on that?
Oh, I'm not going to be really liked on this call if I say what I really think. Okay, so here's the difference. In America, about 80% of LPs, this is the people who invest into VC funds, are private or institutional. So they are billionaires, millionaires, or institutional investors. In Europe, actually almost, I think if I remember, I don't know if it's still true, most of our money, if you work it back, comes from the government for VCs. And so this creates, as you say, some limitations. I don't think the problem is so much the strict limitations, geography, sector, and size and exit. That's the real problem. I think the problem is that it creates the way that investment managers make money. So in VC, you have 2, 20, and 80. So an investment manager will have a management fee of about 2% on the money, and then they will own a carry of 20% that comes after the institutional investors at the EU level get their money back. This is why a lot of finance people are the ones who run our VC funds in Europe, right? Because of where the money comes from. They leave, Nomura Bank, or they leave one of the big banks, and they're like, oh, I'm going to set up a VC, and the management fee is often quite useful for them in just in terms of getting some personal wealth, and the incentives are a little bit misaligned. I feel. I genuinely believe strongly in governmental support for innovation. I've always believed in this, but the incentives are a little bit misaligned in Europe, and I think this is a very big challenge. So, there's a reason why so many European companies jump and we go to the US, right? Why? We don't want to do that. Or I love Europe. I'm never going to live in the US. I generally do not like kind of some of the ways that US stuff is structured, but business-wise, if you want to go big, you have to go to the US. Maybe it's changing in Europe now, and we're seeing lots of unicorns, but I mean, it's a completely different landscape. And I'd love for Europe to really push forward with that. And you are seeing that slightly change. I think COVID has really accelerated investment into Europe from institutional investors, which is great, like Tiger and such. But yeah, it's a big challenge.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this interesting perspective. And we have another question. So, how did agROBOfood help your project?
Well, we're starting off. We've started off now, and I think it's done a couple of things. One is it forced us to find a partner for what we wanted to do, and that relationship has been extremely useful. Actually, because if I go to that partner and I say, maybe at some point I raise some investment VC money and maybe I can give you some money, it's one thing. But if I said to them, we're applying for this grant, they helped us write it also, and then we won it. So we've kept a promise to this entity. So as a partnership, it forces us to be together in a very, very nice way. So, and they're a really fantastic little company, in Poland. They don't really win grants because they don't know how to write it. So we were able to give them something that as an SME, they don't normally get access to, so there's a very nice advantage there. I think the other thing is for us is, it forced us to really think about Poland seriously. So the Polish entity we set up a while ago, and I've been going there in and out, but until you have some support, I have to take my VC money and apply it to Poland, where actually I might have other more immediate commercial things. But because we're now in Poland with agROBOfood, we have to think about the Polish market. And it's also a very nice tool when I'm talking to the Polish government, because I mean, they know about us now there. So I use that as a stamp of approval that, hey, we're not a crazy company, you should talk to us. And so we're getting some very fantastic relationships with the Polish government through the fact that we have this, and also with the big Polish bodies, for chicken farming. If we didn't have agROBOfood, you don't know who this company is, it's an English speaking company, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Okay, I have been taking notes because I want to include this in one of our reports. I think it's really, really important. So another question, and then we have to move on to our next speakers. So how do you experience the compliance part of cascade funding? My experience is that the time that has to be spent on this reporting takes more time than the subsidy yields.
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a lottery. It's hard to know. I'll give you, without naming cascade grants, I got a cascade grant which was under 50,000 euros, and I have never had to do more paperwork. I have done grants for 500,000. I've done grants for millions. Never had to do as much work for any grant than I had to do for that grant. And I had to give it to my staff. My poor staff member like suffered greatly, greatly, greatly. I think the challenge is that it's a lottery because cascade funds go to a consortia who are often then, oh, we won this. And they don't really have the reporting mechanisms. This is good and bad because some cascade funds are actually quite easy to manage. So looking at agROBOfood, for example, my personal opinion is it's actually pretty, I was surprised that for the amount of money, it's actually pretty systematic and simple. The other ones, when they're just inventing the reporting mechanisms that they don't really know what they're doing, can be really, really difficult. What I would, the biggest risk is not if it's difficult, because usually they have to give you the reporting documents before you even win it if you want to see it. But the problem is if they change their mind. This is what happened to us with another grant. They changed their mind about what we needed to show. And so we had to run around doing something that we didn't think we needed to do for a very early TRL system. So it is absolutely right, Thomas. It's very challenging. All I could recommend is try to go for more money then, not less. The small grants are just 10,000 euros. It's not worth your time. You know, the cost of PM is higher. I always go for higher than about 50, 80 now for that reason.
Yeah, it's kind of paradoxical. The less the money, the more the paperwork. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, thank you, Imtiaz, very much. I would like to now invite our next speaker. This will be Lorna McKinley from PAL Robotics, who will also share with us their journey to funding.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to try to share my screen. And bear with me a second. Okay. Hopefully, you can also see it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you very much for inviting us to join today. My name is Lorna McKinley, and I'm the Communications Manager at PAL Robotics. And today I'd like to talk to you a bit more about our experiences in taking part in projects and different collaborations this has brought about for us. So first of all, just to tell you a bit more about PAL Robotics, we were founded in 2004 in Barcelona when a group of engineers created the first bipedal humanoid robot in Europe. In fact, and we have more than 16 years of experience leading service robotics in Europe. Our solutions are based on social robotics, intralogistics, retail, and research, so quite a number of different areas. And we work a lot in Europe, but also internationally. And to date, I think so far, our robots have been sold in more than 30 countries so far. Also for us at PAL Robotics, EU-funded projects, collaborative projects are very important for us. And we are always involved in a number of ways, and we're always looking for new opportunities. So just to go on a bit more, so here you can see our different robots at PAL Robotics, just to give you a bit of a background. So we are focused mainly on humanoid robots for research and development, mobile platforms for logistics and inventory, so that's the retail, and also mobile manipulators for logistics, industry, for deliveries, and social robotics as well. So here, if you look from the left of the screen, you'll see some of the older robots, which look, in fact, very out of date now, but starting from there, the original robots we developed, Green A and Green B, and then going into the robots to the right of the screen in color. This is the robots that we have today. Many of these are involved in EU-funded projects. So we have Green C, we have Tiago Base, we have Tiago the mobile manipulator, which is one of the most popular platforms for EU-funded projects that we take part in. And then we have Stockbot, a retail intralogistics solution. We have Talos, which takes part in a number of projects to do with industry. And then finally, at the right, we have our latest robot, which is Ari, the social humanoid robot. Okay, so just a bit more about us. As a company, we have a number of areas of expertise, including software such as continuous integration and visual perception, and also control, so manipulation and blocking, and areas like human robot interaction and HMI, so things like speech, facial recognition, touch screen. So for us as a company, we have all different types of areas of expertise that we bring to our work in EU-funded projects with different organizations. And we also produce solutions for a number of different areas. I think on the right of the screen as well, you can see some of the different areas that we work in EU-funded projects. So areas we do projects in would be things like assisted living, hospitality, logistics, and industry. So we're covering all types of different projects. Then for us, we have different business units. So we have our social robotics business unit, which has robots for things like we can operate in public spaces, for example, events or airports or shops or reception of businesses. We have our humanoids robot section. So here we have Talos and Lucy. We also have our latest robot here, which is called Solo, a robot dog that we've been developing. Then we have mobile manipulation. And these are Tiago robots, so they're very popular as a separate EU research projects, as well as for universities or companies taking part in research and development. And then lastly, we have Intralogistics business unit, which includes robots for deliveries in industry and for retail as well. So in terms of our work in EU-funded projects or collaborative projects, we are partners in around 15 EU-funded projects at this time. We're developing robotic solutions for current and new applications in areas like healthcare, agri-food industry, research and development. And with our extensive experience in EU-funded projects, we have learned a lot about the ecosystem in terms of challenges and in terms of different calls, different project calls, and what the different project calls are looking for. Because obviously it can be quite a challenge to understand all of the different tools and the different requirements. But we have found through our experience to date and taking part in a number of different projects that we have learned a lot more about how the ecosystem works, which we believe is very helpful to submit proposals successfully in order to take part in new EU-funded projects. And as an organisation, I would say the goal here for us is all about collaboration, not just in EU-funded projects, but for us as an organisation in general. Collaboration is key to us in terms of EU-funded projects. Working with partners in the European Commission framework enables a broad group of entities with experience to come together. So each offer different types of expertise in terms of being able to advance robotics together through a new project and basically enabling the conditions that you need to, first of all, to win the project and then to achieve a successful project outcome. So as you can see in this slide, you'll see our projects in healthcare, in agri-food industry and research and development, and as well as ongoing projects, there's also there represented our past projects. So in the next slides, I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about some of these projects, especially focusing on projects in agri-food, as well as some of our insights as a company into why these types of projects are important to robotics. Okay, so this is a little bit more about our expertise as a company in these funded projects. So we offer software expertise in terms of things like cybersecurity, navigation, human-robot interaction, and artificial intelligence, visual perception, and so on. So sometimes in the projects for a software, we're offering software expertise. In other projects, we are a robotic platform provider. So we would be working with project partners to customize hardware and to integrate different types of hardware developed in the project into our robots. So this is a bit more about our work in funded projects. So for example, in project implementation of funded projects, we have significant experience in project dissemination also, and we work with the project on a regular basis with all of the different project partners in order to maximize dissemination opportunities and impacts, because this also is a very important element to the success of the project, to be able to communicate all of the different outcomes and impacts and to disseminate the project widely in the European ecosystem. We also work to commercialize robotic solutions, and for us, a key point to mention here is that we only submit proposals at Power Robotics that we believe are really aligned with what we do. So proposals that we strongly believe in, that we strongly believe can help to benefit society and advance robotics. Okay, so now I'm just going to tell here a little bit more about some of our projects in the agri-food area. So in the area of agri-food, we have two new projects, Canopies and Scaffold, which started this year. So Scaffold involves the implementation of a fleet of human-aware robots for the food processing industry, which is financed under the project agROBOfood. And Canopies involves the introduction of a robotics prototype with an adaptation of our Tiago++ robot, which you can see on the screen here, being created to work side by side with human workers in vineyards, and then we'll do project pilot for this in the south of Italy with the robot operating in vineyards there. The goal of these projects is to develop a human-robot prototype that addresses the challenges of human-robot interaction and human-robot collaboration in environments that are dynamic and unstructured and always changing. As you can see from this image here, there's always people moving around amongst the robots, and conditions are always changing. So this is the challenge for these projects, to be able to develop a successful tool to help. So for us, the solutions we're developing are to create semi or full autonomy robots that can collaborate together with the workers. And we use the robots Tiago++ and Tiago Base in these projects. And these projects and any projects that we take part in also enable us to advance the capabilities of our platforms. So for example, we've advanced Tiago manipulation capabilities thanks to these projects. So moving on to the next slide. So a bit more about Project Scaffold. So for this project, we aim to produce robots that improve people's quality of life, as we do with all of our projects. And in particular, in the food industry, the conditions of workers for some of the tasks are very repetitive, and they can also be quite dull and even dangerous. So therefore, for when the opportunity to take part, applying this came up, this was something that we really believed was an important cause, and something where we really believed we could make a difference. So for us, at Power Robotics, we embraced the challenge from agROBOfood to improve the working conditions focusing on the socio-economic impact of these aspects. And for us, this is key in making this successful. And for this, we're developing a fleet of RTAGO-based robots for food processing in extreme conditions, working alongside people workers. So this involves optimizing things like design and operation to work in the food industry, and things like visual robots, and making them more aware of humans in their presence so they can navigate effectively without any issues. And for example, a challenge here in this project would be the environment. So for example, in an environment such as this, there's water, there's cold, there's changing temperatures, there's changing conditions constantly. And this is one of the challenges in implementing a fleet of robotics in such conditions. Okay, so just to talk a little bit more about this. So I've mentioned that we're introducing a fleet of AMRs based on the RTAGO-based model to perform food transportation tasks. And we want to deploy our proposed solution in large-scale real-life trials, so we can demonstrate the required safety, robustness, and stability. And through these trials, this then in turn helps to establish market readiness of such a system. So then the aim is that after trials, we can want to use such a system in the future in the food processing industry. So for us as well, from a robotics perspective, artificial techniques of data analysis will be used to optimize the process and the coordination of the fleet, as well as reduce operational time, trace workflow, and improve supply chain management, providing customers with the visual programming tools. So for us, it's all about improving efficiency and workflows between the fleet of robotic workers and the human workers. Okay, now I'm just going to briefly mention some of our other projects, just for your interest in less detail. But for us, in terms of other EU-funded projects, we also have a number of projects in healthcare, such as Shapes, Spring, and Richme. And with these projects, our aim is to create an environment that supports healthy and independent living for older people. So this includes supporting them in the home with things like reminders or things like teleoperation in order to be able to talk to caregivers. And then, in addition to this, we also have a number of projects in industry. So EU-funded projects we take part in industry, with each of these with a number of project partners. So for this, we have projects, examples of projects we have in industry would be Evolve, 5G, Sequoia, and for Robots. And with some of these projects, in terms of project partners, we have use cases with project partners in their premises, for example, with Airbus and Naval Group in the Sequoia project. And all of these projects allow us really to advance robotic platforms in terms of being more manageable for multi-robot control in a shared environment. So for projects in industry, these are the key elements for us. And in terms of applying for EU-funded projects in industry, things like multi-robot coordination are areas that we really believe will help advance robotics in industry. And these are the type of projects that we look to apply for. Lastly, in terms of our projects, we also have projects in research and development. Examples of these would be OEDR and ROSIN. With these projects, we work in consortiums and we're able to provide advanced perception abilities in robotics to be able to use these applications in a number of different areas. And for these projects in particular, we're looking at growth and control of the robots in order to be able to develop the capabilities more so that we have the latest cutting edge robotics technology for industry. Okay, so I would like to go on.
Lorna, I'm sorry I have to jump in because we are running out of time. So
okay, that's fine. If it's okay, I'll just sum up now my conclusion. Okay, so for us to sum up, for us at Power Robotics, the key for us is really that collaboration is essential for innovation. Strong partnerships are essential to demonstrate research excellence and to tackle challenges in society. And for us, we really value the opportunity to work with the European Commission, as we really believe it can help improve our level of research and development and to be more competitive on a European level. Also to be able to be within an ecosystem that helps research grow in a healthy way in terms of exponential and natural growth, which also tackles very complex problems within society. For us, the European Commission, and submitting proposals to them to work in EU-funded projects really allows us to work in this way, which is a different approach to working, for example, with a single investor. But we feel that this is a really beneficial approach, as it's more natural. It takes place at a more natural pace, and that we're able to really help advance robotics to improve society in terms of supporting us more and more in our daily lives. And lastly, I think I would like to mention as well that in terms of partnerships and working in EU-funded projects for us, we really believe it's essential to build relationships and partnerships with the people within these ecosystems, to know who you're going to be working with, to know who you can submit proposals with, and in order to make your collaborations more successful, and your solutions and final use cases more effective. So thank you very much for your time today, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with me, and thank you very much for inviting us to take part.
okay, thank you, Lorna, very much for this presentation. Okay, we are going a bit behind schedule, but I hope that this is worthwhile for all of you, because we have two more presentations to go, and I would now like to invite Martin Ullman from Ulmana to share their funding journey with us.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Hi, Martin. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Open and share, right?
Yes.
I'll try to share. Oh no. How to share my screen actually? Can I share it?
It's at the bottom of your screen. There is a share button.
It's gray. It's gray.
Yes,
open
you can choose it. Yes.
Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, it's just I need to enable it. It's okay. I will be back in a minute because I have.
Okay. Probably something is wrong. I guess Martin will join us in a second. Sorry for the delay. So while we are waiting for Martin to join us, maybe a good idea would be if you could share in the chat box what were some key takeaways from this session. I think that would be quite beneficial for us as well to know how you view this and if you have some feedback to share. Okay,
So
Martin.
I'm back. I'm sorry. It's it starts with WebEx, and unless I am not able to share, then afterwards it just asks me for restarting. Okay, so I hope that you can see it. So let's start. Sorry for that. So hi, we are Umana. We are founded by agROBOfood, and our vision is to scaling sustainable food production thanks to robotics and artificial intelligence. And we are kind of family-run startup, and we are addressing the leading challenge. And we say that the leading system or solution for the 21st century has to be robotic, non-chemical, powered by artificial intelligence, and especially intuitive for the farmers. And this is our solution. We call it Human as a non-chemical weeding machine. And it's mostly software focused. It's working in real time. It's patent pending, and yeah, it works thanks to artificial intelligence. It works also for sown crops. There's many additional features, and the core functionality is that it recognizes based on the characteristics of it, not just based on the color, which makes it the whole difference. So, and now I would like to talking about the funding. So it might be very useful for you. So we actually, so far, we've been able to raise approximately about 0.8 million euro as a non-dilutive. This means these are funding without sacrificing the equity. So yeah, that's exactly like what Imtiaz mentioned. And we are like before, let's say before VCs and all these things. And now open your my Pandora box and show you how we get it. So it's actually this picture. It looks like how we started, like with our prototype. So in 2019, we applied for like local grant. It's called Startup Voucher, and we received the first 20,000 euro, and then we have to add our own money as well into it. So this was our Czech grant, and that's something we succeed first. And then we applied for the SME instrument phase 1. We scored like 12.5 points, which was close to 13, but that means we failed to get funded. In 2020, we were very successful because we won a Greenlight Accelerator, this local university program. We got the whole prize money, so it was another 20K. Then we applied for another grant from Technology Agency for 400,000, but we failed. We applied for AIC Accelerator as a part of the Green Deal, with scoring very nicely, but again, not let's say above the limit 13 points or even more. So again, we failed. But then we got some small grants with the Digital Innovation Hub, 8,000 euro. Then we got kind of services from Czech Invest for 30,000 euro. And again, we applied for AIC Accelerator. We even scored less. It was very tough. It was last AIC Accelerator call. And then some small grants from the Czech government, and also very nice grant from AIT Food Testing Farm. It's just 3K, but it's actually opened the door for other things. And finally, the most important for us was agROBOfood, where we succeed, and we got innovation experiment grant for about almost €500,000 for this and next year. So this is really essential for us. And actually yesterday we announced that we've got the first customer. It's also great. So we will deliver our solution for the next year. And I'm currently actually in Lausanne as we succeed with getting to the Mass Challenge Switzerland Accelerator. So this is also great. And that's how you need to do the kind of raising the money. So it's kind of step by step with a lot of failures, but also small and big successes. And just if you're trying hard, you can make it. If you have a good product or something, good idea to have. And for the next plans, we're thinking there's another kind of small grant for visiting San Francisco, New York, to just kind of evaluate if the America is, or US market is something interesting for us. And we want to do more testing trials, now already also paid. And we might be able to apply for a kind of AIT food grant for 300,000 for some kind of equity. And maybe, hopefully, we might get some investment. Yeah, so that's it from our side. It's exactly like I tried to show you all the grants. So it's starting from the local, national grants. Then we can go for the bigger grants in Czech, for instance, with universities, and then we can apply for a cascade financing and also for AIC accelerator, how it's called Horizon Europe, I think. And these are the hardest. Like if you go higher, it's tough, more and more tough games. And what I have maybe 2 points. One thing, beware of the IP protection to invest the intellectual property. Some of the grants requires to have a shared intellectual property with universities, for instance, and you need to be very careful about that because sometimes these kind of decisions about the IP might in the future might harm you. And another thing is we've got a help from our mentors. Part of our kind of grants, we've got mentors, and mentors help us a lot with these applications. So, for instance, to agROBOfood, we were together, so they're reviewing our proposal, they suggested some additional things to improve, and then we succeed actually. So it was quite good. Okay, so that's it, I think, from my side, and maybe you might have some questions.
Yes, I have a question. Thank you very much. So Ruben is here. Then yeah, on the previous slide, it was you. Is that you in one customer?
No. This is my father-in-law, our co-founder, and this is a customer on the left side. This is our customer.
Oh, nice. And what are the argument and from the expectations of the customer? Was he satisfied? And is it on the test farms? Because we are also on the test
actually
farms.
It's one of our partner within agROBOfood. So they saw it what we're doing. We tested it there, and it was very convincing for him. And actually, he's kind of like this early adopter, so he likes it. So he wants to support us. So actually, we have a deal. We will deliver our machine for the next year, the next season. So he understands also that for us it's very important to announce that we have a customer. So he's brave enough to buy it already. So you have to, for the farmers, you have to show it. You have to show it that it's working. That's essential.
Yeah. So we are in this program Test Farms this year in 2021, and yeah, we already did the test. So we are now fixing some of the things that didn't work in the first testing in order to build a fully efficient solution for him, because every farm is different, so it has to be customized. That's also a question. Do your machine has to be customized on every farm, or is it like a generic standard solution?
Generic, definitely we go for as generic as possible, because there are a lot of machines on the market which are very hard to operate, especially when you go to robotics. It requires the university degree for a tractor driver. That's a no-go. We already see the competition. We listen carefully to the drivers, and they were complaining a lot, especially about the technical issues, like it's hard to calibrate it and so on. So our aim is to make it as simple as possible for the farmers. It should just be on and off, kind of.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin. So moving on with one last presentation coming from Tanya about some tips and tricks related to successful fundraising for SMEs and Horizon Europe open calls. So Tanya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dragana. Okay, so for the end, I will present you some tips and tricks that you should have in mind when applying for different kinds of fundings. Other presenters have already presented a lot of useful tips, but I will try to cover more things. So first, when we are talking about proposal-based funding, you need to have in mind that different types of proposals need to be written depending on the different funding mechanisms. That means that you should pay attention to the agency's key interests. That means that if there are keywords in the call
Tanya, I'm sorry, we didn't see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
No.
Sorry. Okay, now I think.
Yeah, okay, we can see it.
Sorry. Okay, so the first thing is to pay attention to the agency's key interests. So if there are some keywords in the call for proposal or in the funding organization's mission or goal, make sure to use some of these terms throughout your proposal. Because you want to help your readers to understand the connections that exist between your proposal and their purpose. And here you need to try to be clear and concise. So try to organize your ideas through numbered list. So you can say something like this project 3 main goals are, or the plan will involve 4 or 3 stages. And using these numbers can really be an efficient way to present your information in clear and schemable manner. Also, each proposal needs to be customized, so read and follow the instructions. Take time to understand what specific things funders are looking for. So, for example, if a funder specifies that they won't fund more than 25% of a project and you try to leverage 50%, it won't matter how fantastic the rest of your proposal is, because it will get rejected. Also, some general things is to say is that your proposal writing should start well ahead of the deadline, so approximately 3 to 6 months ahead. Also, the grant description needs to be understandable to a broad audience, so use the language and terminology that can be accessible to non-specialists. Also, try to highlight the keywords in the grant to make it clear for a reader how your proposal speaks the grant requirements, and your application should respond to all different requirements listed in a grant. And now when it comes to integrated technology requirements into grant application, here focus on the project and objective and not technology for technology's sake. This means that the grant application is not a shopping list, but rather a means of achieving a project with a stated goal and desired outcome. So technology, if included, has to be an enabler of the objective and the project. So don't discuss favoring one IT system over another, but how this technology is a part of your project. Also, you can stress here capability building, training, and upskilling, because training and capacity building is often enabled and facilitated by software, hardware, fast servers, and so on. And these buzzwords can help you justify the technology spend. So training and skills building both have justified IT costs attached to them. Also, when writing a proposal, follow the general rule, 4C rule. So your proposal needs to have a credibility, connectivity, coherence, and creativity. Credibility means that the description of your project must convince the evaluator that the viability of the project, as well as of your organization's capacity to carry it out successfully. And if met, the credibility of your project will make you also a trusted grant seeker in the future. Also, connectivity refers that you need to connect the dots for the evaluator between your objectives, proposed activities, and the budget. And the coherence means that various sections of your proposal should follow a logical and balanced flow. Now, when it comes to Horizon Europe proposal writing, as I already mentioned, on the EU funding and tenders portal, you can find all open calls. Also on the link below, you can find calls by Horizon Europe program structure and by mission areas if it's easier to find calls that way. You can also find online manual, which is hyperlinked here on the presentation, as your guide through the portal. Also, what is important and you can find is the Horizon Europe proposal template, which has been published, and it includes all instructions on what information you need to provide in the proposal. The proposal template is now shorter in the number of pages compared to Horizon 2020. It has 45 pages now. So try to be concise, as I already said. Also, when building a consortium, keep in mind that it has to be tailored to your project's needs. You need to justify the participation of each partner of your consortium and to explain the quality of its work, why you decided to work with that specific partner. And then here you can see some key principles when writing a proposal. So your proposal work must be written within the scope of the work program topic. And this is particularly important for Pillar 2. Also, you need to demonstrate that your idea is ambitious and goes beyond the state of art. And this is related to excellence criteria. And for this, you will find the instruction in proposal template on how to demonstrate this. Also, your scientific methodology must take into account interdisciplinary, gender dimension, and open science practices. Also, try to demonstrate the pathway to impact in impact section, so how you're going to contribute to outcomes and impacts described in a work program. And also what Horizon Europe tries to emphasize is dissemination and exploitation activities. So try to plan measures how you're going to maximize the impact of your project, and you need to demonstrate the quality of your work plans, your resources, and the quality of the participants. On this slide, you can see some biggest mistakes that applicants made when applying to EIC Accelerator. So the first mistake is that you usually view the template that EIC Accelerator portal offers as a questionnaire, and this is a mistake. So use it only as a guide and customize it to your needs. It has to be unique for each company when applying, and for every section must show a high level of depth. So if the template asks, for example, for the timing of innovation, you can elaborate why the current point of time is perfect to invest and why the market timing is perfect. Also try to make a story, exciting story about what your company is trying to achieve. Take enough time again to do the writing, and if you don't get the funding right from the first time, do the resubmission, because resubmissions are key, and also make some efforts on the annexes, because other financial statements and documents, pitch deck, are also important for the evaluators. When obtaining funding through venture capital, we already heard a lot of useful tips. So focus on the firms that align with your values and make a warm connection. If you can't make a warm connection, what you can do is that what is the best alternative is to make a warmest possible introduction. So look for a background you can find on what previous deals they may have done that relate to your pitch. So look for some recent press that they may have gotten that can refer to. So do your homework and send an elevator pitch that is not a sales pitch. So you don't need to sell anything, just explain a problem that you're trying to solve, how you're going to solve it, and how big the market is for your solution. When it comes to preparation activities, you need to have the executive summary, the business plan, the financials, the financial documents, and the pitch deck. For the executive summary, this is less and less common, but it is useful for you to have just in case. So it's a 2 or 3 page synopsis of your business plan that covers the things like problem, solution, market size, and so on. And in a business plan, the evaluators and the venture capitalists are not going to review your business plan at the beginning, but they are going to ask you all the hard questions that would be answered in this document. Also, most venture capital firms are going to expect from you a reasonable 4-year projection of the income and expenses of the business, which is logical because they want to know how you intend to get their investment back to them with a healthy return. So you should be prepared to provide an income statement and break-even analysis at very least. The pitch deck is a business plan or executive summary spread across 10 to 20 slides in PowerPoint. And here are some advices on how you can do the pitch interview. So first, bear in mind the audience that you're talking to. So they're not your colleagues, and most probably not all members of a jury will read your entire proposal. So they will base their judgment entirely on your proposal abstract, on briefing, and your presentation. A good presentation should not be too wordy. It should be simple, clear, and concise. And you should you should tell a good story. So something that will be easy to remember for anyone who hear it for the first time, to be able to repeat it and report to someone else. So try to explain it almost like to a child, and to use some the most important facts, numbers, and diagrams that catch the eye. Also, if you want to show a video of your product, that should be the one that is silent or have some background music that is not really loud, and it should serve as a tool for you to give the audience a feel of the product. Also, make sure that the project is presented in a cost-effective way. And if you are doing a pitch interview for EIC Accelerator, you need to show your project's EU contribution and its social and environmental impact. Now, following up, when the venture capital firm gets more interested in a deal, the next phase of discovery is called due diligence. And this is what due diligence refers to. So what you need to prepare, these are the references, so both customer and personal references to vet your product, service, and people. The corporate records and documents, the business plans and financials, market research, and so on. The equity grants, of course, because the equity you already promised to others. This is also important for venture capitalists to know. Now, for the very end, we prepared some examples for Horizon Europe 2022 calls, because for 2021 calls, the consortia have already been built. So this is how one call looks like. This is the call from cluster 6. Under this destination, as I said, when you're looking for a call, you need to answer to its requirements, but also to the requirements stated in the destination. You can find here the indicative budget of a call, what the type of action it is. Also, it is stated what are the expected outcomes that you need to answer to, the scope of the project, and the things that the proposal should contribute to. Here you can find in the presentation another examples of the upcoming calls in cluster 6, which refers to food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. But also what can be interested in you, in SMEs that are part of agROBOfood ecosystem, are cluster 4. Here you can see one example of a call that has to do with digital tools to support the engineering of circular economy. This cluster is dedicated to digital industry. So there are some calls related to robotics, also from cluster 5. Here's one interesting call that relates to artificial intelligence. That's all from my side. I try to keep it short and quick. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Tanya. So we will, of course, provide Tanya's presentation to you via email as well, because it's full of some very useful content. Thank you all for staying with us. We've quite made a longer session than expected, but I hope it was interesting. Thank you. Have a lovely day. We are finishing today our agROBOfood digital event, and I hope that we will stay in touch in the future as well. So thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.